Hey guys, it's me, your Lemongrass Spa consultant. And I just want to tell you a story today about a really stupid lemongrass spa consultant. So, this lemongrass spa consultant and her husband were a few weeks overdue for celebrating their third wedding anniversary. And because of moving and all that jazz. So they were super excited when they got the opportunity to take a getaway to a beach. They planned to spend the day basking in the sun and come home really tan. So the lemongrass spa consultant and her husband laid on the beach for 8 hours. Even though the lemongrass spa consultant had a wonderful natural sunscreen that actually works, they chose not to use it. Because who doesn't want to be all tan and hot on their anniversary? So at about 3:30 in the afternoon, the lemongrass spa consultant said to her husband, I feel like I might have a sunburn. So the lemongrass spa consultant and her husband left the beach. On the way to the campsite they were staying at that night, the lemongrass spa consultant admired her suntan and thought how fun it was to finally be tan and have spent a day at the beach, a relaxing day. When they got to their campsite, the lemongrass spa consultant headed to the shower to take a shower. And that's really when the fire started for her. When she got out of the shower, her legs, they started on fire. So she got dressed and hobbled back to her campsite. And then she was hit with extreme fatigue, so she laid in front of the fire and slept. And when she woke up, she could hardly move because her body was on fire. At that point, her husband complained a little bit about a sunburn that he had developed as well. But it seemed to be nothing in comparison. So after eating a humble supper of hobos, her and her husband went to their tent and got ready for bed. This involved the lemongrass spa consultant laying face down on the sleeping bag while her husband proceeded to smear her with healing elements balm. And this would have felt, it would have been bearable probably for her had there not been tiny grains of sand all over her body. So after a few minutes of very painful slathering, the lemongrass spa consultant began her night of very unrestful sleep. And by unrestful, I don't really mean tossing and turning, because that was what someone would have done if they could have moved. The only reason that the lemongrass spa consultant would turn over normally was so that one side of her body could have a little relief, while the other one felt like it was on fire. So fast forward to the next morning, when the lemongrass spa consultant awoke and realized that she's still in as much pain, if not more. The lemongrass spa consultant was feeling kind of sick, actually, a little nauseous because of the pain. So because they had invited their brother-in-law and sister to join them at the beach that day, they decided to stay. So before heading back to the beach, the lemongrass spa consultant and her husband made a trip to Walmart to buy a canopy. And the lemongrass spa consultant may or may not have worn her sun hat and her shades in Walmart because she was thoroughly embarrassed. Upon returning to the beach, the lemongrass spa consultant sat under a canopy wrapped in a blanket for the remainder of the day. Now, the reason that the lemongrass spa consultant is using a filter is because she's too embarrassed. Really, the only good part of this story is that the lemongrass spa consultant learned a very valuable lesson. And that lesson is that being in the sun for 8 hours straight will never, with no sunscreen, by the way, will never produce a dreamy tan. It will produce the look of a leopard in a few days. It will look like you may have stuck your head down in a trash barrel and poured gas on it and then lit it with your head still in the trash barrel. Or people can assume that it was just a poor plastic surgery job. But most likely, people are going to look at you and say, oh my word, they went to the beach and did more sunscreen. Till your face returns to one shade of color all over it, you're going to be judged, and you're going to deserve it. So in preparing to head to the beach this summer, learn from my mistakes. Actually use sunscreen so that you don't feel like taking a Snapchat filter with you like in real life.